guys, welcome back to Relatable Nerds. Kyra here, and today we have a really fun episode. I am joined by one of my friends. Wait, I thought Nick was in the room with me. Wait, is that you under there? There we go. Yeah, you guys, this is Nick. You can find him at Nick the Drawer on Instagram. He also runs the MCU and News. Am I saying that right?
Marvel Cinematic Universe News. That's
Yes,
right.
an amazing channel,
Yeah.
you guys. They have all of the best Marvel news that you could ask for. Literally, it's such a helpful tool with staying up to date with all of these insane amount of Marvel news we have every single day. I mean, I think I saw something's going on right now, right? With like the Avengers and
Oh yes, Avengers.
Avenger chairs. Like, I don't even know. I've seen so many like memes about it already.
All I can say is Pedro Pascal, he's gonna lose his shit, when it comes to his character.
Yeah.
Between the love of his life and his rival.
Sue Storm is just trying to get love from anybody who will love her. And unfortunately, Reed never wants to be that person for the most part. We are not here today, unfortunately, to talk about Fantastic Four, but we do have something really, really fun to cover.
We talked about Daredevil Born Again episode 5.
It is kind of its own episode in itself. It's not really following along the exact path of the season so far, but it was still a very fun episode. We still had a lot of characters that have been involved in the storyline thus far. We are just going to jump right into it, you guys. I love that this show is going like present day with like our time as well, because this was kind of a St. Patrick's Day episode. I kind of have PTSD from St. Patrick's Day because I bartend, and by the end of my 12-hour shift, my hands were turning green.
I remember I saw you have to calm people down with the beautiful music from Ireland.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we were getting into like flogging Molly and the Pogues, which I really love the Pogues, so that was awesome. But yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day in New York. Matt is also an Irish guy. Like he doesn't really talk about it as much, but we know that he has like an Irish background, and he's not even celebrating. He goes into the bank because he is going to meet with none other than Yusuf Khan for a potential loan for his firm.
That's right. Yusuf Khan from Miss Marvel and the Marvels comes back. And did you know, like the guy himself, he's also a voice actor, for the MCU films. He does a voice for the Incredible Hulk. And that episode where they went to the con, he dressed up as the Hulk.
I love that. I loved Kamala. I loved her family. I think one of my favorite parts about Miss Marvel, the Marvels in general, was just seeing Kamala's family unit. The MCU putting another focus on a different culture, just seeing how they like work together was hilarious. It reminded me of my family a little bit, like so chaotic, but everybody just has like so much love for each other. And clearly Yusuf Khan has a lot of love for his daughter. And he lets Matt know this within minutes of meeting him. He's like, oh yeah, Miss Marvel, here's her little Funko Pop. And he shows him the Funko Pop, and it was so cute.
Seriously, Yusuf, are you trying to reveal that your daughter is a superhero, especially with the Funko Pop like on display in this desk?
Right. And with the vigilantes not really getting a good rap right now because of Wilson Fisk being mayor and just trying to put them all away. Like, it's kind of a scary time for him to be like, yeah, my daughter's Miss Marvel.
I'm really worried what's going to happen in the future, because it's not just Daredevil. There's an Easter egg for Luke Cage, and there was a mention from Jessica Jones like in episode 1. And I don't know about Iron Fist. Whatever's going to happen, I don't know, later this season or in season 2. I believe that Daredevil is going to have everyone to come back together, and hopefully Tom Holland as well, because he mentioned him too, and so they got to come together.
I know that just really random like mention of like, we don't need a Spider-Man and a Spider-Man mask. Spider-Man's everybody's favorite, right? Tom Holland does such a good job as Peter Parker. And the state we left Peter Parker in after No Way Home was very sad. Like, this guy has nobody in his circle right now. Nobody knows who he is. He's kind of like picking and choosing if he's going to go like become friends with his friends again, and he knows he kind of has to figure it out on his own. And I think this would almost be like a perfect opportunity for him to, make new friends. These vigilantes that we have running around New York City.
Even though that people don't know his identity, it's all gone with Doctor Strange's magic. But the case, between Spider-Man and Mysterio, like, would that continue? Or because at the end of No Way Home, Jameson, he still has his fancy office and everything, and still haunting Spider-Man throughout social media. Like, so all I want to know is, did the events still continue for Mysterio? And did the case for between, around the world against Spider-Man, like will people know about it, or is it just a flash of memory just gone? Like, we just
Yeah,
don't know.
that's I feel like that's the question of the hour. I know we should focus on Daredevil, but I'm always thinking about Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And I honestly thought we were gonna see like a tidbit of him in Hawkeye. Like I thought we were gonna see him pop up so many different places already. But I think this could be like a really good opportunity just because Spider-Man is around with Daredevil. They have such a good comic book run together. And I feel like it would just be a very easy collab that the MCU could do, and everybody would love it. Like the show is already great, but it would just take it to the next level, I feel.
Also, back to the other heroes. So what is going to happen for Miss Marvel? Like Yusef Khan just confirmed that his daughter is in California right now.
Right.
So at the end of the Marvels, she started recruiting because she has Nick Fury's tablet that he left behind. Like, she has information on Kate Bishop. She's aware of Ant-Man's daughter, Cassie Lang.
Cassie, yeah. There's like two things that could be going on, right? Like obviously I think she's doing the Young Avengers thing. She's recruiting, she's meeting people in California. There's other, I mean, a lot of them are East Coast based, right? Some of the Young Avengers potentially, but we do need to get Cassie in the mix. Or she could be meeting up with her best friend Bruno, who goes to Caltech.
That's right. Bruno, he goes to Caltech, and thanks to their mutual friend with the bad guys, he gave them his fancy car. So yeah, he could be in California for Caltech and everything, but we just don't know. There are leaks going around on social media that it's happening, for the Young Avengers, but they're not going to be called that or the New Avengers. They said it's going to be the champions.
But back to Daredevil, we could go on tangents all day. So Yusuf Khan is working at the bank, and Matt meets with him because the head boss at the bank isn't, he's running late that day. It's one of those occurrences where he just happens to be running late when all of this madness is about to ensue. And Matt is trying to get a loan for his firm. Yusuf Khan tells him that, they're unable to give him the loan. So a bit of a sad moment there. Matt walks out of the bank, and within seconds, he does he uses his super sound, and you see
he just knows he has to be back there.
Right. And there's a huge hostage situation taking place at the bank now. Of course, there's some Irish lads at the forefront of it because it is St. Patrick's Day. And we know Kingpin is dealing with, Kingpin, Wilson Fisk right now is dealing with so much because he can't really be the guy of the streets anymore. He has to do things by the book. We know that there's some things going on with Luca and money they owe, and they're basically trying to get that money to Kingpin. So like everything settles, but Matt does hear that this hostage situation is going on. He goes back to the bank. He tries to switch places with them. And of course, the people that are, taking over the bank are like, yeah, here walks in this guy. He's blind. He's no threat to us. Like, why do you want to be in here? Blah, 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 blah. And he basically just switches place with the hostage, which puts him into the bank. A lot of people aren't aware that he's Daredevil, but it's like so obvious if you're just watching as a viewer because of his red glasses, like just the little things in his attributes. I feel like people, if they just kind of generally paid attention to the surroundings, they would probably be aware that he's Daredevil. Or if they just happen to walk past the bar the night everything happened to Foggy. Like, I think it's so funny that like there's this huge elephant in the room and nobody knows it. It's like, as a viewer, you're just like, oh, it's about to go down. So Matt is now in the bank, starts to set his plan in motion. He's like, yeah, I have to go to the loo. I have to go to the bathroom. And the guy's like, come on, dude. Like, you couldn't go before this. Nobody really plans to go to the bathroom before they enter a hostage situation. Okay. Like, we are not really thinking about our bladders at this moment. One of the masked guys, I believe it's Red, ends up taking him to the bathroom. There we go. Here he is. Red is in the building. Red and Matt are going at it. They're fighting. And one of my favorite things about the show so far is these combat scenes, the camera work following them as they fight in such a close space, the staircase, just the angles they get and just the bones cracking and how Matt just absolutely annihilates this guy.
So quick. Like the moment like his weapon was going down, he just know he has to grab it.
You know what I found funny, and maybe I missed this? His glasses always stay on. Like he'll be like tumbling and tossing around and like absolutely just moving at full speed, and his glasses never fall off. Like, I don't know if he has a chain in the back. I've never like paid attention to that, but like his glasses never move. They always stay
I
on.
think he has the steampunk, like the ones that I have, and
Okay.
just that. No, I don't think they move. You know, kind of like this.
Right. It's just, to me, I'm like, I'm so clumsy. I'm like, I could be walking and everything would just like fall. Like my headphones will fall out. A beanie would move. Like the wind would take it. Like it's just, it's crazy to me how he has this like these super stealth glasses. Very, very reliable glasses. I just had to point that out. So Matt ends up finding Yusuf at the vault. Yusuf can't get into the vault and they're talking about it. And Matt ends up like doing his little Irish accent on the mic to confuse them all on the little, what is it? A walkie-talkie, right?
It's a good thing that you point that out because after Daredevil ended, they're like, what else can Charlie can do? And yet he did a show of an Irish. He was in an Irish show and he did an Irish accent.
It's
Like,
great.
I don't know if you ever seen that show. I don't know what it's called, but yeah, the moment that you hear the Irish accent, that was his character that he played before.
They should have put him in Peaky Blinders. He would have been a perfect fit.
Ah,
Like,
yes.
oh my gosh, maybe he could have convinced Killian Murphy to come into the MCU and be the Doctor Doom we always wanted. Just
Yes,
kidding, just
I don't
kidding.
know how badly I wanted to be Doctor Doom, but the Irish accent that was I was like, wait, are you trying to be that guy from that show? Because I remember I saw the trailer and I was like, when I saw it, I was like, I see Matt Murdock, but I don't hear him. But the way how he does the accent is just perfect.
It was great. And it was just so like he's talking as Matt and then he's like, oh, like he goes into the accent just so easily. And it was great. Props to you, Charlie Cox. That was amazing. Your Irish accent is very on point. Then Matt's like, you know what? I'm just gonna use my super sound that I have, and I'm just gonna open this vault by himself. So he puts his ear right and he just listens and he cracks open the vault, and then they're faced with all these kind of like smaller personal safes. And they're like, oh my God, what now? And Matt, just being the genius that Matt is, Yusuf is all like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to do. Matt's like, oh, let's just check the pocket of the guy I just killed, basically. And so he goes in his pocket, he finds the key. They end up getting into the safe that they need to, and they find this huge diamond that's like probably worth exactly what Kingpin needs from them, the guys who are robbing the bank. I'm no like diamond expert myself, but it looked real nice. It was a beautiful color. They were kind of like, oh my gosh, like what does this all mean? The gears are starting to turn in Matt's head. He's always thinking about Wilson Fisk. Wilson and Matt have this like love hate with each other where they're always on each other's mind. And he's probably just like, this smells like Wilson. he's up to something.
They're just connected, especially for what they're going through. They gave up everything. Wilson Fisk gave up being Kingpin, and Daredevil, gives up, to focus on being Matt Murdock. And yet that night, that episode 6, that just brought them back, to who they are destined to be, because they are back. Okay,
that's a great point that they're so connected because they gave up everything they love. That's amazing.
I just love how the parallels go in between, Wilson Fisk, beating up the guy who had an affair with his wife, and Daredevil seeing the life of his client's niece.
Right. Yeah, that it's so connected. There's this web, another Spider-Man. Okay. There's just this web of connection. So they find this diamond. Pressure's on now because we cut to the NYPD that are on the scene. They're like, we can't wait anymore. Like, we're going in. So they storm the bank, and Matt ends up having the diamond. The diamond kind of gets lost in translation, I feel like, at this point, because Matt's trying to be like, here, take the diamond, let everybody go. But then it just ends up being so like kind of confusing at that point. I was a little like, where is the diamond?
That scene in particular, it just gives me Ocean 11 vibes.
Right.
They're up to a heist, and they're gonna get caught. And when they do, the money is gone.
Right. That is a really good comparison to Ocean. So the diamond, who has it right now? Let's just say for the sake of right now, we don't know. And Matt ends up using his super sound while the police are storming in, and he sees that one of the bad guys is dressed up as a cop, and he tries to sneak away, sneaks out of the bank. He follows the bad guy who's dressed up as the cop. They have this pretty great combat scene. And
especially when he puts his face down in the glass. I'm like, oh, I don't know what's more brutal, this or the Punisher for what he did to Billy Russo. But the way how he put it down that quick, I'm just okay. Now that one has to be more
Yeah.
terrifying than that.
And then we're still like, where's the diamond? And then you see one of the women hostages like leave the bank. And it's almost like alluding to that she has the diamond because she has like this little case with something in it. And then the
That's
scene moves
butterscotch.
back to right. Like you're like, okay, well, she has to have it. Like pretty much the end of scene. And the last part of this episode is Matt checking back in with Yusuf a couple days after the heist had happened. He checks in on Yusuf, and Yusuf is like, "Oh, like if you're here about the loan, like I'm sorry, like we can't help you. We still can't do the loan." And Matt's like, "No, like literally, I just want to make sure you're okay. Like you're a
That's
good
so
guy."
great about Matt. Like despite he has clients, he just wants to make a friend.
And it's nice to see it in this corrupt New York City, where New York City in general, whether it's Marvel, DC, any Gotham, anything like a big city like that, there's always corruption going on. People are just rushing by, walking through the day, not even paying attention to any of their surroundings. And it's nice to see kindness in a big city. It really is, especially when it slips through the cracks with all of this violence. It's really nice to be human and
All the
check in on each
stereotypes
other.
that are so true about New York, and people are angry,
Yeah.
and there's no thieves anywhere.
Right. People, just walking fast, moving, jaywalking, like, I got to go here. I got to be here. I'm running late, et cetera, et
Oh,
cetera. And New York feels like that, especially in this New York in Daredevil. Like, people are starting to wake up when the BB report comes on. They're talking about corruption, how the police are corrupt. They don't care about the people of the city. It's nice to see that. I'm sure Matt is definitely, his ego is being stroked over this too. He's like, wow, yeah, I don't even have to put on my suit and I am still the hero. I know he doesn't think like that or he's like conceited, but I'm sure he's like, wow, this is really working out for me. I don't even have to be Daredevil. Last thing that happens in this episode when Matt goes and visits Yusuf, Yusuf is kind of in shock that somebody's checking on him. He's like, wow, you were come to dinner with my family. Like, we'd love to have you over. My wife is a great cook. Like, Kamala would love to meet you. Kamala is probably obsessed with Daredevil. She probably knows everything. She'll be like, why is Matt Murdock in my like she probably knows who he is, right?
especially with the
As soon as
tablet
she
that she has,
sees,
she will find out.
oh
Yes.
yeah. I know people had their own opinions about Miss Marvel and Kamala Khan and the Marvels movie and Captain Marvel. I think people just have a problem with seeing a woman led role in the MCU. People mostly want to see men in those roles. And when a woman steps up to that, everybody just critiques them so much. When I think most of the women in Marvel, all of the women have done their very best. And Kamala was a breath of fresh air.
She was fantastic. I have
Amazing.
no complaints there. That's just the problem. For many years. Because masculinity and everything people can look up to, but you just gotta know there are women too as well that they can live up to their names. Be a positive icon like Brie Larson. I have no problem with her.
No, she's
Uh,
awesome.
Tayon Perry. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Who
It's
plays
okay.
Rambo? She is fantastic. I don't want to see anything bad happening, to all of these actors that I love so much. Because,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you probably had VHS when you were a kid, right?
Oh yeah, I still have a lot of them.
When Spider-Man came out, with Tobey Maguire, when it has Stanley, where he's talking about everyone, that was my inspiration. I don't care who it is. I just want to know all of them. It doesn't matter who they are or what their gender is, or just do whatever you can to bring these characters up in a big screen, just to make me happy. That's
Right.
that's what I want.
And why wouldn't people want to see more people to experience seeing themselves in somebody on the big screen? And with Miss Marvel, I love that we got to see a different culture. We got to experience a woman at the forefront who has a very long career ahead of her with the MCU and just such a breath of fresh air. And I think it's so cool that Matt could almost be like a mentor for them.
Well,
And yeah,
except for She-Hulk, and I don't see any problem with him teaming up.
people hated that show. And I'm like, you guys would absolutely love it right now if Pedro Pascal and Oscar Isaac were like twerking in an episode like Megan and Tatiana Maslany were. Like, if it was Pedro Pascal, and don't get me wrong, I would love it too. I love Pedro Pascal. But if it was the latter and it was two men doing it, they would have not gotten as much fire as Tatiana Maslany and Megan Thee Stallion did in She-Hulk. I was actually appalled at how people were so upset about that. I'm like, you guys always want this like super, super serious Marvel like storyline, which I get. I love the serious storylines, but it's okay to laugh a
There's
little.
much darkness around the world. It's best, just to laugh it out, on some things.
Right. And She-Hulk did exactly that. And I mean, Daredevil was in that too. Like, I'm predicting that we're going to see her pop up. I would love to see Jennifer pop up in this. That would be amazing. I mean, we know she's a lawyer too. It would be a very easy transfer. Maybe he could just call her in to help on a certain case. That's what my fingers are crossed for. Nonetheless, Matt Murdock is going to be going to dinner at the Khan household, and I really hope that episode happens.
We'll see that happen. We'll see that. I know we will.
I wish I could be invited to that dinner. That would be amazing. I wouldn't even need to speak. I would just love to watch everybody interact because they're so entertaining and they're so cool.
I'll be in shock. I'm like,
taking it all in, like, oh, like, because I would love to be friends with Kamala in real life. I feel like I saw a lot of myself in her with going to the Comic-Cons, with dressing up, with not having a lot of friends who like do it, with your family being like, what are you doing?
I can't wait to see her again later this year for Zombies. She's going to be in it as well.
You guys, and that was episode 5 of Daredevil Born Again. It was such an amazing episode. I cannot wait to talk about episode 6. Thank you so much, Nick, for joining me. You guys can find him at Nick the Drawer on Instagram or MCUN News, and we will see you soon.